The $250,000 credit score tax you don't know you're paying. Imagine two identical twins, Mark and Dave. They're 30 years old, earning $75,000 a year. They live in identical houses next door to each other. They drive the exact same gray sedan. On paper, their financial lives are indistinguishable. But over the next 30 years, Mark is going to pay $250,000 more than Dave for the exact same life. Mark isn't lighting money on fire. He isn't losing it in crypto. He's handing it over to banks, insurance companies, and landlords. Why? Because a secret 3-digit number attached to his name is 640 instead of 760. This is the invisible tax nobody talks about. We obsess over income taxes, but we ignore the credit tax, arguably the most aggressive wealth destroyer in the American economy. I'm Boris, and today we're exposing the credit score for what it really is. It isn't a measure of your moral character. It isn't even a measure of your wealth. It's a measure of how profitable you are to the banking cartel. The credit score is younger than Taylor Swift. Here's the first thing that blows people's minds. The credit score, as we know it, the FICO score, is younger than Taylor Swift. It was introduced in 1989. Before that, lending decisions were made by humans. Now, that old system had massive problems with bias and racism. Absolutely. But the new system swapped human bias for algorithmic ruthlessness. We've been brainwashed into thinking this score is a fundamental pillar of civilization dating back to ancient Rome. But it's actually a very recent corporate invention designed to standardize risk for the sole purpose of securitizing debt. And in doing so, it created a caste system where prime borrowers get free money, and subprime borrowers pay a surcharge on their very existence. The $120,000 mortgage penalty. Let's look at the math because the numbers are genuinely terrifying. The biggest purchase of your life is a home. Let's say you want to buy a $400,000 house. If you have a gold-plated credit score of 760 or higher, you might get the best advertised rate, let's say 6%. But if you have a score of 620, which is considered fair and is where millions of hardworking Americans sit, banks view you as risky. They don't deny you the loan, that would be leaving money on the table. Instead, they charge you a risk premium. They bump your interest rate up, maybe just 1.5% higher, taking you to 7.5%. It doesn't look like much on the brochure. It sounds trivial. But run the amortization schedule. On a 30-year mortgage for that house, that 1.5% difference adds up to roughly $120,000 in extra interest payments. Think about that. You're buying the same drywall, the same roof, the same patch of grass, but you're paying over $100,000 more than your neighbor simply because an algorithm from 1989 said so. That's $100,000 you cannot invest in the S&P 500. If you had invested that difference over 30 years, it would have compounded into $500,000. So the true opportunity cost of a bad credit score isn't just the extra interest, it's the destruction of your future retirement fund. It's wealth transferred directly from your pocket to the bank's bottom line. The reputation score. It's not just about loans anymore. But the scam goes deeper than just loans. This is where it gets into Black Mirror territory. Your credit score is no longer just about lending, it has become a reputation score. In most states, auto insurance companies use your credit score to determine your premium. They've decided, based on their actuaries tables, that if you have a lower credit score, you're statistically more likely to crash your car. So even if you have a perfect driving record, never had a ticket, never had an accident, drive like a grandma, if your credit score dips, your car insurance goes up. Studies have shown that a driver with a clean record but poor credit often pays double what a driver with a DUI conviction and perfect credit pays. Let that sink in. The system trusts a drunk driver with an 800 credit score more than a safe driver with a 600 score. This is the poverty premium in action, and it doesn't stop there. Landlords use it, utility companies use it to charge you security deposits. Even employers in certain sectors, finance, defense, government, check it as part of background checks. You could be the most qualified candidate for a job, but if you missed a few visa payments 3 years ago during a medical emergency, you might be flagged as irresponsible and passed over. The score has mutated from a tool for banks to assess risk into a universal judgment of your value as a human being. It determines where you can live, what you drive, and even where you can work. The twisted logic: the score doesn't measure wealth. The most twisted part of this game is how the score is calculated. It does not measure your wealth. You could have $10 million in cash in a duffel bag, but if you've never taken out a loan, you might have a 0 or unscorable credit rating. To the algorithm, you're a ghost. You don't exist. Conversely, you could be broke, living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in minimum payments. But if you constantly borrow money and pay it back just in time, you're a superstar. The score rewards churn. It rewards participation in the debt cycle. It hates people who use cash. It hates people who pay off loans too early. Have you ever paid off a car loan and watched your credit score drop 20 points? That's the system telling you the quiet part out loud. We liked you better when you were paying us interest. When you stop paying interest, you're less useful to them, so your score goes down. It's a loyalty program for debt slaves. How the score is calculated. Let's dig into the specific mechanics of the score because ignorance here is expensive. The biggest chunk of your score, 35%, is payment history. This is binary. You either paid on time or you didn't. One missed payment can wreck you for years. But the second biggest chunk, 30%, is credit utilization. This is the ratio of how much credit you have versus how much you use. If you have a credit card with a $1,000 limit and you spend $500, your utilization is 50%. The algorithm hates that. It thinks you're desperate. It smells fear. But if you call the bank and get them to raise your limit to $10,000 and you still spend that same $500, your utilization drops to 5%. The algorithm loves that. You didn't pay off debt, you just changed the denominator. This is a game of optics. The trick is to look like you have access to millions of dollars, but have zero desire to spend it. The authorized user hack: how rich families pass on good credit. Also, you need to understand the authorized user hack. This is how rich families pass on good credit like a genetic trait. A parent with a perfect 800 credit score adds their 18-year-old kid as an authorized user to their credit card. The kid never even gets the physical card. They never spend a dime. But the entire history of that card, 20 years of perfect payments, gets copy-pasted onto the kid's credit report. The kid wakes up on their 19th birthday with a 780 credit score. They walk into a dealership and get a 0% APR loan. Meanwhile, the kid whose parents have bad credit starts at 0 or worse, inherits the bad habits. They walk into the dealership and get hit with a 15% predatory loan. This is one of the primary mechanisms of the invisible inheritance of inequality. When things go wrong, the credit repair loophole. But what happens when things go wrong? This is where the industry of credit repair comes in. And frankly, 90% of it is a scam. But the mechanism they use is real. It relies on the Fair Credit Reporting Act. The law says that any information on your credit report must be 100% accurate and verifiable. If there's a mistake, even a tiny one, like the wrong date or a misspelled name, you have the right to dispute it. If the credit bureau cannot verify the debt with the original lender within 30 days, they must delete it. This is how people clean up their reports. They're not proving they paid the debt, they're proving the paperwork is messy. It's a legal loophole, but the wealthy use legal loopholes every day for taxes. You should use them for credit. The Dave Ramsey argument. Now, I want to address the philosophical argument here. Some of you might be Dave Ramsey fans. You might say, Boris, credit scores are for debt, and debt is dumb. Just use cash. And look, I respect the purity of that. If you can buy a house in cash, do it. Opt out of the matrix. But for 99% of people watching this, you will need a mortgage. You will need insurance. And living in modern America with a 0 credit score is playing life on hard mode for no reason. You'll pay higher deposits. You'll be denied rental applications. You'll face friction at every turn. The pragmatic move isn't to boycott the score. It's to manipulate it. Treat it like an annoying video game you have to speedrun to get the rewards and get out. How to hack your credit score. So how do we hack this? First, automate everything. Payment history is 35% of the score. Set every bill to autopay the minimum amount. This is your safety net. You can pay the full balance manually later, but autopay ensures you never miss a payment due to forgetfulness. A 30-day late payment is a stain that lasts 7 years. Don't let a stupid mistake cost you money. Second, play the limit game. Every 6 months, ask every credit card issuer you have for a credit limit increase. Tell them your income went up if it did. Most of the time, this is a soft pull. It doesn't hurt your score. By constantly expanding your available credit, you're padding your utilization ratio. You're building a bigger buffer so that even if you have an expensive month, your score doesn't tank. Third, never close your oldest accounts. The length of credit history is 15% of your score. If you have a dusty old card from college that you never use, keep it open. Buy a pack of gum on it once a year to keep it active. Closing that card deletes that history and lowers the average age of your accounts. It's like erasing years of experience from your resume. Keep the old cards alive. They're the anchors of your reputation. The bottom line. The bottom line is this: you cannot treat your credit score as a validation of your self-worth. It's a gain token. It's a VIP pass that gets you into the room with the cheap interest rates. You need to protect it viciously. Not because you care what the bank thinks of you, but because you refuse to pay the poverty tax. You refuse to pay the extra $250,000 over your lifetime. You want that money in your investment account compounding for your freedom. Don't fear the score. Dominate it. Keep your utilization low. Dispute every single error on your report. 1 in 5 reports has an error. And understand that this entire system is designed to extract wealth from the disorganized. By getting organized, by understanding the algorithm, you become unprofitable to them in the short term. No late fees, but highly trusted in the long term. Low interest rates. That is the sweet spot. If this video made you realize you've been playing the game with a blindfold on, share it with a friend. The banks are banking on our ignorance. They're banking on us accepting the 12% loan because we think we don't deserve better. Let's stop giving them our money. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.